Welcome to our lecture on the Introduction to Drugs. This is the foundation of pharmacology, the science of how drugs interact with the human body. Pharmacology is the study of the biological effects of chemicals, and drugs are simply chemicals that we intentionally introduce into the body to bring about change. Not all drug effects are beneficial. Some produce therapeutic, helpful effects, while others can be undesirable or even dangerous, known as adverse effects. Healthcare providers focus on how these chemicals act on living organisms, but as nurses, we specialize in pharmacotherapeutics or clinical pharmacology, how drugs are used to treat, prevent, or diagnose disease. As nurses, we carry an essential responsibility in the safe use of drugs. Our role extends beyond just administering medications. We must assess the drug's effects, both expected and adverse, intervene when needed to make a regimen more tolerable, teach patients about their medications, how to take them and what to watch for, and monitor the overall care plan to help prevent medication errors. We are the patient's last line of defense in preventing harm and ensuring safe, effective therapy. When creating a nursing care plan involving medications, we must build it around the individual patient. Nursing considerations include careful assessment before and after drug administration, formulating accurate nursing diagnoses that reflect risk and need, planning interventions that are patient-centered, implementing the regimen safely, evaluating both the effectiveness of the drug and the patient's response. This systematic approach ensures that drug therapy is not just about the medication itself, but about how it fits into the patient's life and health goals. Sources of drugs. First, we will talk about natural sources. Drugs originally came from natural sources. Many still do. Plants provide chemicals that can act as natural drugs or as prototypes for synthetic drugs. For example, morphine is derived from the opium poppy. Digitalis, used in heart failure, comes from the foxglove plant. Modern pharmacology often isolates the active chemical and creates synthetic versions for purity, safety, and consistency. The alternative therapy movement also continues to draw heavily on plant-based sources. And this is a table 1.2 from your book that gives more examples of drugs derived from plants. Sources of drugs. 2. Animal products. Animal products also serve as drug sources, particularly hormones, enzymes, and natural body chemicals. For example, insulin was once extracted from pig pancreases. Today, genetic engineering allows bacteria to produce insulin synthetically, making it purer and safer. This shift reflects how science has moved away from animal extraction towards biotechnology, ensuring fewer contaminants and more consistent dosing. Inorganic compounds such as salts can also have therapeutic effects. For instance, lithium is used to treat bipolar disorder, and fluoride prevents dental cavities. Synthetic sources now dominate drug development. Using genetic engineering, we can modify bacteria to produce therapeutic chemicals. We also have developed entire families of drugs with slight modifications, such as beta blockers or ACE inhibitors, to tailor treatment to specific needs. This concept of a prototype drug is important here. It's the first drug of a class against which all others are compared. This is examples of inorganic drugs. and you can find this in Table 1.3 in your CARCH book. Drug evaluation. Before drugs reach the market, they undergo a rigorous evaluation process: preclinical trials, clinical trials, FDA review, and post-marketing surveillance. This process ensures safety and effectiveness, though no drug is completely risk-free. Understanding how drugs are tested helps us educate patients about why newly approved drugs are sometimes used cautiously until more is known about long-term effects. Government regulates drugs to protect the public. This includes standards for safety, efficacy, labeling, and distribution. Agencies like the FDA oversee approval and monitoring. For nurses, this means we must stay informed about changes in regulations, black box warnings, and safety alerts. Please be sure to review the legal regulation of drugs in your book. Drug safety during pregnancy is critical. Drugs can cross the placenta and affect the developing fetus. The FDA uses pregnancy risk categories to guide use, although labeling has been updated to include more detailed risk summaries. Some drugs are teratogenic, meaning they cause developmental defects. Nurses must always assess pregnancy status before administering certain drugs and provide teaching to women of childbearing age about potential risk. Category A, adequate studies in pregnant people have not demonstrated a risk to the fetus in the first trimester of pregnancy, and there is no evidence of risk in later trimesters. Category B, animal studies have not demonstrated a risk to the fetus, but there are no adequate studies in pregnant people, or animal studies have shown an adverse effect. But adequate studies in pregnant people have not demonstrated a risk to the fetus during the first trimester of pregnancy, and there is no evidence of risk in later trimesters. Category C, animal studies have shown an adverse effect on the fetus, but there are no adequate studies in humans. The benefits from the use of this drug in pregnant people may be acceptable despite its potential risk, or there are no animal reproduction studies and no adequate studies in humans. Category D, there is evidence of human fetal risk, but the potential benefits from the use of the drug in pregnant people may be acceptable despite its potential risk. Category X, studies in animals or humans demonstrate fetal abnormalities or adverse reactions. Reports indicate evidence of fetal risk. The risk of use in pregnancy or in a pregnant person clearly outweighs any possible benefit. Controlled substances. The Controlled Substances Act of 1970. Control over the coding of drugs and enforcement of these codes given to the FDA and the Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA, a part of the U.S. Department of Justice. Prescription, distribution, storage, and use of these drugs are closely monitored. Local policies and procedures might be even more rigorous. Controlled substances are drugs with abuse potential. The DEA classifies them into schedules. Schedule 1 is high abuse, no medical use. This would include heroin or LSD. Schedule 2, high abuse potential, severe dependence risk. This will include narcotics and amphetamines. Schedule 3 has less abuse potential than Schedule 2, but does have a moderate abuse potential and dependence liability. Schedule 4 has lower abuse potential than Schedule 3. and limited dependence liability. This will include some sedatives, anti-anxiety agents, and non-narcotic analgesics. And then Schedule 5 has limited abuse potential, primarily small amounts of narcotics such as codeine used as an antitussive or antidiarrheals. Under federal law, limited quantities of certain Schedule 5 drugs may be purchased without a prescription directly from a pharmacist. Purchaser must be at least 18 years of age and must furnish suitable identification. All such transactions must be recorded by the dispensing pharmacist. Nurses must follow strict regulations regarding storage, documentation, and disposal of controlled substances. We are legally accountable for every dose. Generic drugs are chemically equivalent to brand name drugs once the patent expires. They must have the same strength, dosage form, and route of administration. However, differences in inactive ingredients can sometimes affect absorption or tolerability. Many states require substitution with generics unless dispense as written is indicated, especially important for drugs with narrow therapeutic ranges, such as anticonvulsants or thyroid medications. Orphan drugs are developed to treat rare diseases that affect very small patient populations. Because drug companies see little profit, the Orphan Drug Act of 1983 provides financial incentives for development. These drugs can be life-saving for patients with rare conditions, though availability and cost may still be barriers. Over-the-counter drugs are available without a prescription. Many were originally prescription only, but deemed safe for general use. However, over-the-counter drugs are not risk-free. Problems with over-the-counter use include masking underlying disease, dangerous interactions with prescribed drugs, adverse reactions to inactive ingredients, and risk of overdose if not taken as directed. Nurses must ask specifically about over-the-counter drug use because patients may not consider them real drugs and may not report them. Sources of drug information. Where do we find reliable drug information? First, drug labels provide essential details such as dosing, route, side effects, and special warnings. Nurses must know how to read these carefully. Second, package inserts provide complete study data and safety information, but they can be dense and difficult to interpret. The FDA has revised formats to make them much clearer. Other sources include drug reference texts, online databases, and hospital formularies. Relying on reputable, updated sources is crucial for safe nursing practice. In this chapter, we've introduced the core concepts of pharmacology, what drugs are, where they come from, and how they are regulated, and the nurse's responsibility in ensuring safe use. As we move forward in pharmacology, always remember, drugs are powerful tools, but they require respect, vigilance, and critical thinking to use safely in patient care.